Hello student, today we start the third unit of paper second, it is anatomy. In this there is 3 points. First is on anomalous secondary growth in stems of Bignonia, Salvadora, Acheranthis, Aristolochia and Dracea. Also the study of the anomalous secondary growth in storage roots, soft beads and radish. The second point in your syllabus, that is the stem root transition, and third point is the study of stomatal types. So today we start the first point, that is the anomalous secondary growth. Before starting the unit, first you know about the anatomy. The anatomy is nothing but the study of internal structure of the lungs. So in this anomalous secondary growth, the question asked like, what is anomalous secondary growth? Describe the adventitious type of anomalous secondary growth in dicot stem, or explain non-adaptive type of secondary growth, or also the give detailed account of abnormal cambium as like. Here I give some question which is mostly asked in exams. In that sometimes explain the anomalous secondary growth in Aristolochia roots, then only on roots, that is on dicot roots, or anomalous secondary growth in Acheranthus and Dracea. So this type of question are asked in exams. So before starting the secondary growth or anomalous secondary growth, you know about the primary growth and secondary. So the underground part, that is the root, and below part, that is the stem. On these roots there is the root apical. At the tip of roots there is the root apical meristem is present. Similarly on the shoot there is the shoot apical meristem is present. See here in the dark spot, that is the shoot apical meristem. Then at the side part of the leaf there is the axillary bud meristem is present. On the stem part or below meristematic apical meristem there is the lateral meristem is present. On this lateral meristem, two parts, the central part is the vascular cambium and the surrounding part is the cork cambium. On this primary growth, in the transverse section of primary growth, there is the outer layer is the epidermis, below epidermis cortex is present, and at the below cortex there is the vascular bundles are present, that is outer side phloem is present and the inner side xylem is present, and at the center pith region is present. In the secondary growth, in the secondary growth, transverse section is shown in this figure. The outer layer is the peridot. Then below peridot there is the cork cambium. Then below cork cambium there is the cortex region is present, which is in white color, that is the cortex region. Then there is the primary phloem is present. Below primary phloem, secondary phloem is present. Then there is the ring of vascular cambium is present. Below phloem there is the ring of vascular cambium is present. Then below vascular cambium there is the secondary xylem and phloem xylem is present. Phloem xylem is on inner side and secondary xylem is on outer side, and at the center there is a prison. So let's see what is the difference in between primary growth and secondary growth. In the secondary growth, there is the addition of the vascular cambium and cork cambium region. There, that means there is the addition of secondary tissues happen in the secondary growth. Addition of the secondary tissue, that is the secondary growth. So let's move towards our topic, that is the anomalous secondary. The secondary growth means it is addition of the secondary tissue by vascular cambium and cork cambium. जो vascular cambium and cork cambium है वहाँ पे जो secondary tissues है वो वहाँ पे फॉर्म हो जाते हैं. Then anomalous secondary growth means it is any deviation or change from addition of secondary tissues by vascular cambium and cork cambium. That means at the time of addition, some changes are occur in the secondary tissues and anomalous secondary growth is formed. जब भी एडिशन होती है सेकेंडरी टिश्यूज़ की, वहाँ पे कुछ चेंजेस हो जाते हैं और उसकी वजह से वहाँ पे एनामलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ फॉर्म हो जाती है. सो दिस इज एनामलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ मीन्स चेंजेस इन सेकेंडरी टिश्यूज़. देन इन द सेकेंडरी एनामलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ इन योर सिलेबस देर आर टू पार्ट्स में आपको स्टडी करना है. एक है स्टेम और दूसरा है रूट. तो फर्स्ट वी स्टार्ट विथ द स्टेम्स. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट द फर्स्ट जनरा इन योर सिलेबस दैट इज द anomalous secondary growth in bignonia. So this is figure of this is the plant of bignonia. In this it is the twinner plants. Twinner plant means the climbing plants. These plants are wind up to any support for one to the supports and they will be twinner. सपोर्ट के लिए वो जो बड़े लार्ज प्लांट होते हैं उसके ऊपर वाइंड अप हो जाता है, वो ग्रो हो जाता है. दिस प्लांट शोज नॉर्मल कैम्बियम विथ नॉर्मल एबनॉर्मल एक्टिविटी टाइप ऑफ एनोमलस ग्रोथ. यहाँ पे जो कैम्बियम रीजन है वहाँ पे हमें एबनॉर्मेलिटीज़ और कुछ एबनॉर्मल चेंजेस वहाँ पे हमें दिखेंगे. इट इज़ द एडाप्टिव टाइप्स ऑफ जो भी एनामलस ग्रोथ है दैट विल बी इन एडाप्टिव टाइप्स. सम मॉडिफिकेशन और सम एडाप्टिव स्ट्रक्चर विल ऑब्जर्व इन दिस ग्रोथ. So in abnormal or anomalous secondary growth, the primary structure of bignonia stem in this figure, it is the primary structure of bignonia stem. In this transverse section of bignonia stem shows outer part is the epidermis. Below epidermis cortex region is present. Then below cortex there is the endodermis, pericycle are observed, and at the center there is the 4 vascular bundles are observed. In these vascular bundles, xylem are observed in the inner side and phloem on the outer side. In between xylem and phloem there is the intravesicular. That means in this the line, in between line, that is the intravesicular cambium is observed, and at the center there is the pith is present. But after the early stage of secondary growth, some changes are occurred in the stem. In this stem there is the developed intervesicular cambium. Intervesicular cambium means in between 2 vascular bundles the intervesicular cambium is produced, and these develop a strip. That means intervesicular strip is developed in between 2 vascular bundles. Then intra and interfascicular cambium strips unites together and to form a ring. यहाँ पे हमें रिंग दिख रही है. जो interfascicular cambium है, they also unite with the intrafascicular cambium and a ring-like structure is developed, that is the cambium ring, जो हमें इस फिगर में हमें यहाँ पे दिख रही है. Then initially the activity of cambium ring is normal for some time, but in normal activity it adds more xylem. It adds more xylem towards inner side and less phloem towards outer side. यहाँ पे हमें दिख रहा है जो xylem है, xylem are present on the inner side and phloem on the outer side. In secondary growth क्या होता है? In secondary growth, more xylems are adding towards the inner side, but compare there is the less number of phloem are added in the outer side. Then after some time cambium ring is breaks into the strips. फिर जो cambium ring है वो breaks हो जाएगी and they form the strip like structure are forms. Then 4 strips of cambia which are diagonally opposite give rise to more phloem and less xylem. The other 4 strips which are alternate gives rise to more xylem and less phloem. क्या होता है यहाँ पे? कुछ आफ्टर ग्रोथ होने के थोड़ी ग्रोथ होने के बाद जो कैम्बियम है, कैम्बियम ब्रेक हो जाता है. कैम्बियम ब्रेक होने के बाद क्या होता है कि यहाँ पे पार्टीशन होता है. xylem और phloem में पार्टीशन होके जो xylem और phloem रीजन है वो डिफ्रेंशिएट हो जाता है. एक तो ऐसे होगा कि मोर phloem एंड लेस xylem हो जाएगा, नहीं तो एग्जैक्ट अपोजिट लेस phloem और मोर xylem. इस तरह से वहाँ पे स्ट्रिप प्रोड्यूस हो जाते हैं. Then due to this xylem cylinder appears divided at 4 places by phloem which is wedge shape. और ऐसा डिफ्रेंशिएशन होने से यहाँ पे कुछ वेजेस और एज लाइक वेज शेप यहाँ पे डेवलप हो जाती है. जो भी xylem है और phloem है वो डिफ्रेंशिएटेड हो जाएगा और वहाँ पे वेज शेप फॉर्म होंगे. फिर दिस फ्यू सेल्स ऑफ वेज शेप phloem बिकम्स स्क्लेरेनकाइमेट. फिर जो रीजन है वहाँ पे जो वेज शेप यहाँ पे डेवलप हुए, फिर दे बिकम्स, और जो वेज शेप phloem है दे बिकम द स्क्लेरेनकाइमेटस. जो स्क्लेरेनकाइमेटस दैट मीन्स थिकन शेल्स वहाँ पे प्रोड्यूस हो जाते हैं और दैट इज़ नोन एज द phloem फाइबर्स. उसे ही हम phloem फाइबर्स बोलते हैं. द डिसेक्शन ऑफ xylem टिश्यू बाय थिन वॉल्ड phloem. तो यहाँ पे क्या होता है, जो भी xylem टिश्यू है, xylem टिश्यू और phloem टिश्यू में का यहाँ पे डिसेक्शन और सेपरेशन हो जाता है और दे विल बी हेल्प इन दी ट्विनिंग एंड क्लाइंबिंग. ड्यू टू दिस dissection the plants will helps in twinning and climbing. This is the abnormal growth is adaptive type. So this इसको हम एडवेंटिव टाइप का एबनॉर्मेलिटीज बोल सकते हैं. सो दिस इज द फिगर आफ्टर एनामोलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ. There is no change in outer part, that is epidermis, cortex, endodermis in pericycle. This is from the thick secondary phloem, then secondary xylem, and in between these wedge-shaped phloem is observed. At the center, pith region is present. Look in this figure. यहाँ पे हमें क्लियरली आपको क्लियर हो जाएगा। एज सेंटर पीथ इज प्रेजेंट in this page, there is the 4 sclerenchymatous bags are developed. On this is xylem, that is protoxylem, and metaxylem is present on this inner side, and this is the secondary phloem. On this secondary phloem, in the phloem there is the sclerenchymatous bags are developed. So this is the abnormal secondary growth in bignonia. Then the next example is the Acheranthus. This is the plant of Acheranthus. These small herbaceous plants. The primary structure of Acheranthus shows some wavy-like structure. Look in this stem. Some furrows and ridges are observed in this stem. That's why this is wavy-like structure. In this outer layer is epidermis. Below epidermis, hypodermis is region present. Then next to hypodermis, there is the cortex region is observed. Then below cortex is the endodermis and pericycle is observed. And in between there is the 2 vascular bundles are observed. These 2 vascular bundles are conjoined, collateral and open types. The vascular bundles are the conjoined, collateral and open type. So this is the primary structure of Acheranthus. In secondary growth or in abnormal secondary growth, there is the pericyclic cambium developed. In this stem, there is the pericyclic cambium is developed. The accessory cambium from secondary xylem alternating with the sclerenchyma on inner sides. Then it forms phloem above the xylem and parenchyma. It forms the phloem above the xylem and parenchyma, above the sclerenchyma on the outside. The cambium becomes inactive below the phloem and new arc of cambium are formed above it. This new arc forms secondary xylem and sclerenchyma on inner side. Thus, the earlier form phloem gets surrounded by the xylem and sclerenchyma. It is called included phloem or interxylary phloem. So, in this Acheranthus aspera, look in this figure. यहाँ पे हमें जो भी इन दिस प्लांट्स देयर इज द पेरीसाइक्लिक कैम्बियम यहाँ पे डेवलप्स होता है. इन द look in this figure, there is the phloem and outer side and inner side is the xylem. In between xylem there is the sclerenchyma and in between phloem and xylem there is the cambium accessories is present. On this between 2 phloem there is the parenchyma is present and in between 2 xylem there is a sclerenchymatous cells are present, and in between xylem and phloem there is the cambium region. This is the faint brown ink, that is the cambium. Then what's happened in this, the xylem is surrounded by the sclerenchymatous cells and this phloem, the जो हम यहाँ पे दिख रहे हैं वहाँ पे एक नॉन कैम्बियम आर्क प्रोड्यूस हो जाता है. जो भी सेल्स हैं कैम्बियम जो कैम्बियम रीजन है, कैम्बियम रीजन इनएक्टिव हो जाता है और जो फ्लोएम है, फ्लोएम क्या करता है, उसके साइड में एक न्यू आर्क वहाँ पे डेवलप हो जाता है, दैट इज़ द न्यू कैम्बियम आर्क। जो कैम्बियम जो इन बिटवीन फ्लोएम और जाइलम जो कैम्बियम रीजन है दैट विल बी इनएक्टिव एंड दे प्रोड्यूस द आर्क दैट इज न्यू कैम्बियम। then what's happened, there is the and the new cambium arc, this xylem is surrounded by sclerenchyma and there is the interxylary phloem is or interxylary phloem are formed। यहाँ पे जो फ्लोएम है इट इज़ द इंटरजाइलरी मीन्स बिलो द झाइलम, दैट इज़ द इंटरजाइलरी फ्लोएम। यहाँ पे हमें दिख रहा है ऊपर की साइड में फ्लोए जो फ्लोएम है इट इज़ प्रेजेंट ऑन द अपर साइड, बट ड्यू टू द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ न्यू कैम्बियम आर्क द इंटरजाइलरी फ्लोएम इज formed। So that anomalous secondary growth of the new cambium or pericyclic cambium, some changes are observed in the transverse section of the stem. The presence of abnormal cambium with abnormal activity are observed in the Acheranthus stem. So this is a non-adaptive types of anomalous secondary growth. So this is all about the Acheranthus. So lastly we summarize this। तो पहले हमने देखा कि सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ क्या है, देयर इज द एडिशन ऑफ सेकेंडरी टिश्यूज इन वैस्कुलर कैम्बियम एंड कॉर्क कैम्बियम। और एनामोलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ दैट मीन्स द changes in additional secondary tissues by vascular cambium and cork cambium। then हमने देखा कि एनामोलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ इन बिग्नोनिया में एनामोलस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ कैसे होती है वो हमने स्टडी किया है। इट इज़ द एडवांटेज टाइप ऑफ सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ है। यहाँ पे जो इन दिस बिग्नोनिया there is the interfascicular cambium is develops, then these interfascicular and interfascicular cambium are connected or unite together and form the cambium ring। then due to the activity of cambium rings, some the more xylums are added in the inner side but the less phloem are added in the outer side। then after some time these cambium rings is break down into 4 strips and the cambia are produces। these cambia are formed or differentiated the xylem or diagonally opposite gives or differentiate phloem and xylem। These strips or xylem is produced cylinder and phloem is produced the wedge-shaped structure। then this wedge-shaped structure form phloem, it becomes the sclerenchymatous which is known as the phloem fibers। then after the dissection of xylem tissue by the thin-walled phloem, these plants will helpful for this climbing and twinning। this is the adaptive abnormal growth in the bignonia। then lastly after secondary growth यहाँ पे figure देखिए some sclerenchymatous bags are developed and the four strip-like wedge-shaped flames are also observed after the anomalous growth. Then second example हमने देखा Achyranthus, this is a herbaceous plant है जो outline है इसकी it is the wavy due to the presence of cold and ridges in these. The normal secondary there is the vascular bundles are conjoined, collateral and open. After the anomalous secondary growth, these stem produce the pericyclic cambium. Due to the in the accessory cambium, there is the outer side phloem is present and on the two phloem there is the parenchyma is present. Below phloem there is the cambium accessories are present, and below cambium the inner side there is the xylem, and xylem means again in between xylem there is the sclerenchyma is present. But due to the inactivity of the cambium, these phloem is produce the new cambium arc. Then this new cambium arc or xylem or due to this production of new cambium arc, the phloem gets surrounded by the xylem and this sclerenchyma, and it produce the interxylary frame. This is the abnormal phenomenon in the Achyranthus. So these types of abnormalities are observed in the Achyranthus stem. So I hope all of you clearly understand about the anomalous secondary growth in Bignonia and this Achyranthus. Now we stop here. In next video we talk about the other genera